by the ones who circle round attendees fire. Hi there, my name is Tercy Engelhardt, and I want to welcome you on this beautiful, amazing Sunday, Easter Sunday, to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate that we get to share this journey with one another. And I look forward to today's podcast. I've been looking forward to it as we've kind of worked our way through the process of like diving into what's in the way of us really being the person that we were created to be, that special person with amazing gifts and skills and talents and beauty and passion and all of those divine qualities. So I'm grateful to finally have arrived here to Easter Sunday. So I'll get back to that in a minute. I just want to make sure that all of you feel welcome. However you got here, trust that. I'm grateful that you're here. If you're here on a regular basis, I'm so happy to be sharing this journey with you. I do believe we're meant to journey together. I consider it recovery, recovering those broken off pieces of ourselves. Some people are like, well, I don't need to be in recovery. I'm not an addict. I'm not broken. Well, I want you to consider that all of us are living somewhere short of that divine being that we were created to be. And that whatever it is that might be in the way of us stepping fully into the beauty of who you are, the incredible, extraordinary creation that you are, we all could recover a little bit more of that in our lives. So anyway, I'm grateful that you're here. Again, I always say I don't have your answers. You have your answers. But sometimes when we listen to somebody else's story as they're unraveling bits of theirs, we can get clues to our own, and that leads us to our own next step. This is my 39th. I'll be 40. It'll be 40 this year, 39th year of recovering from living an addictive lifestyle, perfectionism, anorexic, bulimic, struggling with an eating disorder, sexual abuse survivor for 20 years, from my 16 years old to 36. So yay, I'm 75 this year and so grateful for this journey. Okay, so new life. There's a couple of things I want to share with you about that. So I've been in this process of taking a look at my heart. Both my parents died from heart disease. My father died 2 years younger than I am now. My mother lived 9 more years than I am now. And so I've had this experience while I've taken on, I'm really committed to learning and doing a jump rope routine for my birthday in September, that I have this shortness of breath, that once I start exercising, it seems like, I don't know, I just can't get enough air. And so I started on this process of checking out my heart. And I kept having this experience. I wish I could just see inside myself. Now, I do have this quality where when something doesn't go as well as I want it to, when I didn't do as well as I wanted or hoped I would, I want to start over. And I've had that my whole life. Some of you who have read my book know that I swam out from Aquatic Park all the way around Alcatraz, back into Aquatic Park at like 4 o'clock in the morning on a December cold day. No wetsuit, but thermal cap. And the first day I got washed out. I ended up the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I got picked up, brought back in, and immediately I started planning on, I want to do it again. Maybe I can do it tomorrow morning. And I called Bob, who was the one who was doing the, boating beside me, the one who was monitoring and watching me. And I said, Bob, anyway, I can go tomorrow. Anyway, let me look at the, barge schedule. Let me look at the ship schedule. Let me look at the current. Let me see. Anyway, he said, called me back. Okay, we can go at 4 a.m. So that's what I did. And the second time I made it. But that quality, that wanting to start over, if I fail a test, I want to take it again. And sometimes I have the experience now as a senior citizen that, I wish I could just like start over with a fresh body, because I've been abusive to my body, both athletically, both spiritually, both emotionally, both nutritionally. And so I've always had this thought, I just wish I could see inside. Well, I went for my stress test on Thursday. And as it turns out, I was talking to this sweet, sweet, sweet nurse. Her name was Monica, and I was talking to her and I told her that. And she goes, "Well, interesting. Like part of the stress test is we're going to do an ultrasound and you're going to see your heart." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's like the best." So now you get all hooked up in all these sticky things with wires and all that. And you lay down and they do an ultrasound a resting heart ultrasound. And I'm telling you, the minute she put that goopy stuff and the whatever it is that picks up your heartbeat, and if you've had a child or been the fortune of being present to somebody else's ultrasound, you know that miraculous feeling when you hear the heartbeat for the first time of a little bitty embryo that's just taken life. And I'm telling you what, my 75-year-old heartbeat sounded just like it. And I started weeping, watching that heart beat. And those four little valves opening and closing every time my heart beat. And I thought about, well, my mother didn't have an ultrasound. I've thought about all my kids and all my grandkids, and some of them I've heard, and some of them I was there. And that experience and recognizing my heart sounded just like that. Only here I was 75 years later, listening to my heartbeat in that way for the very first time and watching those little valves open and close and that blood get pumped from one side to the other and then back out to my body. And it was moving. And I thought about, because of this journey we've been on these last few weeks during Lent, I thought about all the abuse I've put that heart through. I've thought about all the times I'd experienced being brokenhearted, other people's hearts I've broken. And I just wept. And it was amazing. It was totally amazing. And I found a deep appreciation. And I feel a sacred relationship to my heart now that I never quite felt before. I think I've taken it for granted. I think about how many times that has beat over these 75 years. And then you get up and you exercise strenuously on what's it called? That thing that rolled like a Stairmaster, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, I'd never been on one before, where you walk and it goes faster and faster and steeper and steeper and faster and faster. And they do 3 minutes at every level. And the tricky part is you have to let them know 30 seconds before you're going to say, "I'm done, I quit," because they inject some kind of fatty thing into your vein, and it acts as a flashlight for the ultrasound. So all of a sudden, your heart is lit up as if shining a flashlight on it. So you do this exercise, they're monitoring everything. And then when you're done, you quickly lay down again and they do the same imaging. And they're wanting to look at your heart at rest and your heart when it's stressed. And is most hearts, even people who have heart attacks, when their heart's at rest, they're great. But as soon as their heart gets stressed, what happens is some sections, if there's any blockage, stops moving. It doesn't stop beating the heart, but it stops moving, and it's restricting oxygen and blood flow. Anyway, enough science. So I did that, and I was so grateful that my test came out with no abnormalities, no apparent blockages. And that's great news. And then I just have one more test, a calcium CT score coming up. So the reason I share that with you is also this week, I got my new chicks, my baby chicks. And every 2 years, I get new baby chicks. And they arrive just one day old in the mail. I got 100 of them. And you pick up these little birds that have just come out of a shell. And they occur as so miraculous. They're so tiny. And you dip each one of them in some water with some nutrition so that they know where that is, and you let them go, and they're under these heat lamps. And then you watch them closely. And I noticed in the middle of the night, the first night, I couldn't sleep because I was worried about those baby chicks. And so I got up and went out in the middle of the night to check on them. And again, I was present to just that miraculous experience of their little heartbeats and new life bursting forth. And so I want you to consider, because we've done all this work over these last 40 days, that we're in this place now where I don't know what your experience is, but I've been doing this right along with you. But my experience is there's a weight lifted, where I was delving into the past and the mistakes I've made and the hearts I've broken and my own heart being broken and just the errors of my ways, how many times I've missed the mark of love. And I've been doing that work and praying and meditating and writing. And suddenly this morning, when I got up and I was reading my daily scripture and sitting quietly, I noticed, oh, I'm lighter. And even my dream state right before I woke up in the past, I've been feeling how far and separated I've been from love many times over my life, and how I wished I had done something differently. And remember, I told you I'm kind of the person that wishes I could go back and do it again. And the apologies I've made and the forgiveness I've given and just all of that. And suddenly this morning, right before I woke up, I had this beautiful dream of this sweet, sweet dear friend who I met when she was going through probably the dark night of her soul. She had had a special needs child and then a couple children after that. And she was struggling with just the impact of that on her life. And at the time, we farmed and we had a lot of food, and she loved great food. And I used to drop off bags of groceries or do things for her. And I heard her tell a class one time about that and the impact that had on her life, and how I had never charged her. I just did it out of the goodness of my heart. And so I got to wake up in this moment of feeling loved and appreciated and present to the kindness that I have shared with people. And that was a beautiful thing after the work I've been doing for these 40 days. So I suspect you're in a similar place. And I want you to embrace how amazing you are and see the opportunity for each of us to step more into and then to maintain that divine being that we are, to start to make our choices from that place of knowing that we're loved and of loving others, which was Jesus's final message of love one another as I've loved you. And I promise if we live our life from that, it's miraculous. And so I want to wish you a beautiful, beautiful Easter Sunday, wherever you are and however you celebrate. And I want to thank you for being a part of this journey with me. And I look forward to our moving forward from this place on. And happy, happy, happy Easter. I love you and I'm grateful for you. Have a beautiful day with your family and loved ones. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.